Hey guys, don't know how well you can hear me. I'm out here, Kodiak Island, Alaska, Larson Bay, where my blacktail deer hunt was. I just wanted to come out and share with you guys why I got so emotional in my video, for those of you that don't know. 20 years ago, almost to the day, my dad and brothers and my sister all went to Alaska, and I didn't get the opportunity to go. Like, they invited me, but I just recently gotten married to my wife. Early in our marriage, I had a wrist surgery. I'd broken my wrist, and I spent all the money that I had repairing my wrist, and just didn't have the finances to be able to make it to Alaska with my family. And my dad offered to pay for my sister until she could reimburse him, but he didn't offer to do the same for me, and it really messed with my head. Looking back on it now, I can see why. It's his baby girl and his daughter, and I understand that he was just trying to give her an opportunity that she might not have had, and he just figured that I was a man and I could support and take care of myself. And so they all went to Alaska without me 20 years ago, and it devastated me. I've dreamed of getting to Alaska most of my life, but after that trip I just really wanted to get here, and I never thought I'd get the opportunity. I've had a lot of things happen in my life that have just kept me from being where I wanted to be financially, and to be honest with you, I didn't think this trip would happen. But since I learned things about my brain and how to rewire my brain, I've learned how to re-budget my money and look at things differently, and I've worked through a lot of the struggles that I had with certainty, and that was one of the biggest things that I needed to work through, or else I probably would have never made it here, because I've never been certain of anything, and just to have that certainty is the thing that helped me finally get to Alaska. If I hadn't worked that out myself, I probably would have never come up with the finances to make it here. So fast forward 20 years, I'm finally coming to Alaska, and when I left the Salt Lake airport, I got really emotional. That's when the reality set in. The minute my flight took off, I just realized that I was finally going to make my dream of Alaska come true, and I teared up pretty hard on that flight over, and I thought for sure I'd do the same when I reached Alaska, but I think that I had worked through a lot of that stuff, and just tearing up on the flight and the reality of it happening before I even got here was enough, and a lot of that emotion left me. But I did tear up a little bit when I touched down in Alaska, and when I was flying on the plane from one side of Kodiak Island to the other, and just seeing the scenery out that window as we were flying over in that smaller plane. It was pretty amazing to see all that. Then we get here, and I've heard not the greatest things about our outfitter, and that they kind of just made the decisions on where we could hunt, and that there were so many people that have hunted the area that there was no deer left in the area. And I started letting it get to my head, and I thought, well, I've traveled all this way to hunt Sitka Blacktail, spend thousands of dollars that I don't have to spend. I know most people don't, but I surely don't, at least currently. And I thought I wasn't going to be able to harvest my deer. So I sat down on the mountain after hiking close to 1,000 feet above sea level and not seeing a single deer. And the country is just really steep. But it wasn't the country that got to me. It was just the fact that I didn't know if there was going to be any deer left on the hill, as I hadn't seen any, and just all the negative things I had heard about the outfitter that we went with, that I didn't think I was going to be able to find me a deer, and it just kind of took away from my Alaska experience, or at least I was beginning to allow it to, because I was fearful that I spent all that money to come here and I wasn't going to be able to harvest a deer. And so I sat down on the hillside to check myself, to try to get out of my own head and find the certainty that I was looking for. And I realized that the reason I came to Alaska was to see the country, to experience it, and that my trip wasn't solely for filling my tag, although that's a large part of it. Like, that's obviously why most of us fly out here to do this, is to attempt to fill a tag for that neat little trophy and that extra experience and everything like that. But I started to realize that there's a good possibility that I may not even fill my tag. And as I sat on the hillside, I was just, like I say, checking myself and trying to come to that realization that it may not happen, and I just wanted to be able to enjoy my trip one way or the other. And so I was just sitting there on the hillside, taking in the view, and just trying to be grateful for finally being here in this place that I've waited 20 years to get to. And lo and behold, the minute I sat there and started to have gratitude just for the things around me and all the beauty that I was taking in, my buck walked out in front of me less than 100 yards, and I just, holy crap, there's a buck. And I thought I was going to be picky and just be a trophy hunter and try to get the biggest buck that I could find. But after hearing the things that I heard and seeing that buck, it could have been a little button buck spike and I wouldn't have cared. I would have shot that thing so fast. It just solidified the trip that much more. Like, I got the full experience. I got to come and hunt in Alaska. I got to fill my tag on a great buck. He's a great buck. There's definitely bigger, but he's a great Sitka Blacktail. He had a nice big old rutting neck on him, and the double throat patch, just a nice pretty cape. He's just got a nice little kind of a unique rack with some nice character, and I'll tell you what, that just completely solidified my dream. I just made it to Alaska. I hunted Alaska and I was successful in Alaska, and just being able to harvest that buck, the rest of the trip didn't even matter after that. It was made. Like, I know that there's so much here to take in, but that shooting that deer just solidified everything so much. Just the reality of it really sank in, that I was living a lifelong dream, and it all came true, and it came to light and happened just the way that I had planned out. Obviously, I want to shoot some sea ducks. I want to do the other things that the charter offers. We went sea duck hunting yesterday with no luck. We shot one goldeneye, saw some harlequin, seen a few old squaw. But anyway, got one day left after today. We're hoping to get out and hunt some, or maybe fish for some cod and some halibut, and then we'll fly out on Tuesday. But it's been a hell of a trip. Really enjoyed it, and I couldn't have asked for anything more. It was a great first experience. I'm grateful I got that buck. My friend Ty got his buck, and my family's had opportunities. My brother shot at a buck twice yesterday. His rifle scope got knocked off, and so he missed a couple times. They're all out there again today. Very windy, nice chilly day. They're gonna probably be cold as crap out there on that mountain, but they're at least giving it one last ditch effort. I don't know if they'll change their mind, any of them, and continue to chase after a buck again tomorrow, or if they'll call it a day today and we'll all go fish tomorrow. But either way, it's been a great experience for me, and I hope they've enjoyed their trip as well. So 20 years of waiting to come to Alaska to harvest an animal and just be here with my family just all came to light, and it meant the world to me. So that's my story.